This is me about to slice through a sword made entirely out of paper. Spoiler alert, it worked, but how did we get here? When we were kids, anything could be a sword, a paintbrush, a ruler, even a pencil. Since I graduated high school this summer, I thought, can I, a newly adult with access to stronger glue and significantly worse judgment, make a sword out of paper that can actually cut something? Then test it on paper itself, cardboard, and finally metal, hopefully before the entire project collapses emotionally or structurally. And one rule, this video does not end until I complete the challenge. These supplies cost about $30 thanks to a fun little thing called inflation. I chose art book paper because printer paper, as an adult, is strictly for resumes and disappointment. This stuff is thicker, stronger, better, kind of like me after a good cry. The plan was simple, trace out a sword, cut it, stack it, squish it together, and sharpen it. Like this one kid in my kindergarten class who tried to sharpen her finger. She left in an ambulance. I started tracing and cutting the shapes, and instantly, this reminded me of how I can never color inside the lines as a child. Then I stacked the paper together, cut more identical pieces, and repeated until I had enough to glue together. If you're thinking this took forever, you're correct. It's kind of like a Where's Waldo moment. It's like, the answer's right there. It took forever. I mixed glue and water into a paste. Scientifically speaking, this creates a material known as hope. Then I used the only reasonable mixing tool, my fingers, stacking them one by one like your grandma's lasagna recipe. Yes, I know the recipe. After many layers, a mild existential crisis, and the loss of at least 3 brain cells, I had created a gluey, soggy paper blob. After compressing it for 4 days, using your mom, of course, she was heavy, cooperative, on a ready nearby, it was time to harden the sword. For this, I use epoxy resin and super glue, also known as chemical hope. Epoxy starts as 2 liquids that ends as a solid, much like this project started as a joke and is now a full-blown cry for help. I brushed it on trying to coat the edges so I'd have enough material to sand and sharpen, but then I ran into a problem. Not enough epoxy. So I mostly coated the top half and glued the 2 pieces together. And of course, I touched the epoxy with my bare hands. My fingers started to burn. I washed them, but it was not coming off. I just prayed it wouldn't harden under my nails, put on gloves, and kept it pushing. Then I realized the sword dried to the paper underneath it, which looking back feels obvious, so I think I need to take an IQ test. I just cut it out and moved on. Some parts are still weak, probably because my glue paste was too watery, so I reinforced it with tape. Then I went outside to sand. Don't worry, I wore a mask. Honestly, it was kind of therapeutic. It gave me plenty of time to question all of my life choices. The edge got a bit sharper, but not nearly as sharp as it needed to be. So I grabbed some crazy glue and struggled with the child safety lock. But it happens to the best of us, right? Anyways, I hardened the edges and I sanded down again. But I also glued my gloves to the sword and ended up sanding that too. This also happens to the best of us, right? By this point, I was fed up. For the handle, I just used printer paper. For emotional support, nothing as usual. I taped it on and boom, the sword was ready. Now for the real test. This video cannot end until the sword cuts through paper, cardboard, and metal. First up, paper. Honestly, it felt like the paper tore from the force of my grip, not the blade. But then I stabbed it, and the stabbing counts. Next, a Cinnamon Toast Crunch box. At first, it was not working. I was sawing, stabbing, and basically using this sword like a butter knife. I thought I was stumped, until I noticed a super sharp spot near the top. Then I used that. While it looked like I was tearing it a bit, I promise I wasn't. I'm counting this. This paper sword cut through cardboard, although it felt a bit more like a knife. Finally, an aluminum can. If this paper sword cuts through a metal can, I don't care what anybody says, that's a win. I went at it with the sharp edge over and over, and it seemed impossible. But after 5 minutes of persistence, I actually managed to cut through. Technically, this paper sword sliced metal. I'm not entirely happy with the results, but it counts. Let me know in the comments if I should redo this challenge with more epoxy and stronger glue. And subscribe if you enjoyed this.